reset that. Here we go. All right. So now we're going to talk about reports. And so we did the dashboard piece, right? And so we did the list views dashboard. So a report it shows a set of data that has something in common. That is to say, it's the result of filtering. And there are 4 report formats. And if you're taking the test, format is the word. If you remember format, you might remember there's 4 of them. That is a tabular, summary, matrix, and I forgot my little laser pointer, and a join report. And in Lightning, those reports build on each other up until you get to the join report where you have to select that it's a join report. And we'll talk in detail about all 4 of these. But the biggest thing people need to remember about reports is they show real-time data. It shows the current status of the data, which is why I, preach to sales managers all the time. Use Salesforce reports for your one-on-ones, for your sales meetings, because it's in there. It's Salesforce, and it's going to give you the real data. And if there's data that's wrong or missing, you got the people who have responsible for the data right in the room with you, where they could even update it while you're there. So tabular is just that. It's a table view. A summary takes some break in the data and summarizes some of the fields in that data, counts, totals, subtotals, those things. A matrix does that in a 2x2 grid. So you summarize a row, then you could summarize the column. So open opportunities by sales rep, and then you could the amounts by month or by quarter, or by month then quarter. You could add all kind of variations in there. And a join report breaks a barrier. It allows you to connect multiple reports together through one common variable, like the account, the salesman, the user, somebody. And so the results different users see based upon their user record in Salesforce make all the difference in the world. So you might have a single report and 3 different users pull it up and they see 3 different sets of records. Now, sometimes those users will talk and they'll say, something's wrong with the report. Like, no, you don't understand Salesforce. Now, I don't say that to them like that, but that's what's actually happening, right? They don't get that it's the security model. That is to say, the records and the records you see in Salesforce are based on 2 things: who owns the record and what rules. Actually, 3 things. So the record owner, the record rules, and the profile permissions. So each user has a profile and a set of permissions that might be individual to them, but whether they could even see, like somebody in accounting may not be able to see cases, where somebody in somebody in support might not see opportunities, regardless, right? So just their profile either gives them access to the data or not, and based on who owns the record and how you set up your security, whether they can see that record, as well as something called field level security. So field level security is at the field level that if a certain person in a profile can't see a field like credit card number, social security number, those especially in the banking world, the KYC data, the PIP, what is it? It's the HIPAA for health. And what's it for banking?
PII.
PII, right? So you can designate fields with all that data, so you can protect, so you can follow the rules. Salesforce gives you the tools to follow the rules. Reports follow all the rules of your data, right? So you don't have to ever worry. Because I go to reports right now. I can go into orgs right now and see that people just didn't understand this. They'll create there's 170 salespeople, and I could see, their very ambitious assistant for 10 of those salespeople created a report for Bob, a report for Chad, a report for so and so. Same report, they just changed the owner. What they could have done was change the ownership filter to my opportunities. And each user that pulls up that single report would just see their records. So it's half knowing Salesforce can cause a lot of trouble. And by the way, as much as you know about sales, remember, I don't know if I said this is earlier, Lazy, you might remember me saying it, but like, I don't remember a lot about Salesforce. Here's what I remember about Salesforce all the time. Salesforce changes 3 times a year. That's what I know about Salesforce. So anything that I remember, I don't trust until I test it. Because it might have been that way yesterday, but somebody flipped the switch last night and it's different today. Right? So you got to, and that's something you got to tell people, is that your users, well, I don't know if you remember this thing. A couple of years ago, there was a virus that went around town, some people's towns, called COVID. And it was a new virus, and which meant everybody didn't know everything about what there was to know about it every day. Every day something new came out, and then new BS came out, new real came out, all those other things, and it just became this mess because people don't understand that data updates, right? Humans are not good with changes in data, but your org has to be, because you're in business and data changes for a living, right? So in general, if you can see a record, you could see that record in a report. If you can't see a record, you won't see it in a report, right? It's a basic rule of it. Now, reports themselves, there's 3 folders in Salesforce. There's a public folder. Each user has their own private folder, and then there are custom folders. And folders are what we use to secure reports. Public folders have no security. Private folders have full security. Only the logged in user can see the reports in that folder. And in between are all the custom report folders you'll create. This is fundamental to understanding how reports and dashboards works, because you share different levels of access to different users with each folder you create. And you do it by groups of users. And you can add users based on we'll do this in exercises, but public groups, roles and subordinates, or individual users. So with each one of those methods, you can grant access to users to the report folder in 3 basic levels. 1, they can view the reports, but they cannot modify them. My preferred method for all sharing of all reports that I create. Because I know if I let users edit the reports, the wrong user will edit the report and mess it up for other users. How do I know that? Because it's the way it happens. The second thing is you can make somebody an editor, or a group of users an editor of those reports, and they can actually change the reports in there. And then a manager can grant other users access to that folder. So the manager of the folder can grant users and grant them the 3 levels of permissions. An editor can edit reports, and a viewer can do just that. They can view it. So we're going to create a shared report folder as well, and then we'll go back to some terminology, which I've been using already. So when we go into the system, we create reports. We're going to create a new report. Oh, not a new report. Sorry. Oops. Click the wrong button. We're going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it GenWatt. GenWatt reports. Now, obviously, this is too broad and generic for real use cases in business, your business. And so I'm just going to put my little disclaimer in there. What we're teaching in these classes, any other classes you take with us, are not the best practices, but rather the practice it takes for you to understand how the functionality works. I'm just putting it in there to remind you that your company reports and have everything in there. You might as well just keep it in public folders, right? Because that's not creating anything, and you're not adding any security. But again, so you created that folder. You'll notice up here, there's all folders, and then we're inside the Gen Watt folder we created. And if we can, remember I said one of the skills of learning software is to read the screen like a book, left, right, up, down, one line at a time, from top to bottom, left, right. So if we take our mouse pointer and we move it all the way to the right, we'll see that there are a couple of action buttons we can take. We can make this a favorite. We can share it, which we're going to do in a second. We can rename it. Or we can delete the folder because we created it. You can also select the fields to display, just like a list view. The most important field, I don't know why they don't have it on there, is I never really care about the date a folder was created. I literally only care who last changed it, because that's all that matters as to who or how that report looks the way, or that what when I'm looking at a report, those are the things I want to know. But on that action button, you can click share, and for generally speaking, there's, like I said, users, roles, their subordinates, and then public groups. Now there is a built-in public group called all internal users. I'm going to give all internal users view access to this folder, and then I'm going to click share to share it with them. This is a demo org, but if there's somebody you know, fellow admin, other business analysts that know how to do reports, you trust them, like you really got to trust them. I mean, I have trust issues, and for good reason. But you can add those people too, right? So you can still go back and you added all users, but now I'm going to just take this English user, doesn't really exist. But I'm going to give them manage access. So even though this default group called all users, all internal users, that's internal users being those with Salesforce licenses, not with community licenses or experience licenses. Those are users too, but they have a different license. So internal users are the ones that have a Salesforce license, just FYI, just so you know. But again, you could pull another user in out of that group, and it only adds to their permission. It doesn't take it away. So for example, if I had a role of system administrators, which I don't think I do probably, but if I did, let's say CEO. I have a role of a CEO, and I give the CEO manage access, which I would not, FYI. That's the least trustworthy person when it comes to managing the software, because they usually don't understand how anything works, right? So I would not do this. But if I did, because there was somebody else in there, the lower level permission being all doesn't diminish their access like anything in Salesforce. It just adds anything permission wise. Multiple permissions of different types all add together. So I wouldn't take away the manage access from the CEO just because they're in the public group with only view access. Does that make sense? You got to.
Not really.
All right. If I give you view access as part of a group of product managers in your group, right? But I give you manage access. The lower access doesn't limit your permission. The higher access, you always have whatever higher access you have is granted to you. So it's always more, never less. It never subtracts. It always adds permissions.
So because CEO is also part of public, but because I give
Correct.
CEO the highest, that's what it's going to do.
Yep. So it's just, again,
sense.
I would never give a CEO manage access. And I would never put anybody else in the CEO role other than them and their assistant, which then I might give them manage access, but I might put them in a different group. Anyway. All right. So then to go look at what you did, if you click on all folders, you can see, if I click on all folders, these are my list views for reports. These are built-in hard-coded list views. I've got the most recent reports that I've viewed, which is none. The ones I've created, which is none. Private, which are in my box. Public, which are everybody can see. And all reports, no matter what folder they're in, I will see as long as I have at least view access to the folder that they live in. Same thing happens with folders, and then the ones that are created versus shared with you. And then you could have your set of favorites, whatever. So that's the navigation for reports. Any questions about that? Or do you have any trouble with it?
Nope.
All right, cool. So a little terminology. A report type, those words are often misconstrued with report formats. A report type defines the data set that you're reporting on.
Mm-hmm.
Accounts with opportunities is a smaller data set than all of your accounts. Contacts with contracts. When they have contracts, maybe so, would be a smaller set than all of your contacts. Make sense? So the report type limits the number of records, or defines the number of records in your data set that you're reporting on. So sometimes you can report on a single object, and sometimes that object is apparent to children. And when you relate two objects together like that, the with report type just shows the parents with that have the children. You need to create custom report types if you want a data set that includes the parent with or without children. So that's just you'll get the hang of report types, but report types will sometimes mess you up depending on how your data model's set up and what you're trying to report on. This is where I said the nuance happens. And this is critical for understanding or answering the question, why don't I see? I know this is wrong because there's more records than what I can see.
So I just want to make sure I understand when you say, because I understand we have parent with children. So for example, account relationships with accounts is a report that I'm working on right now.
Okay.
What you just said, if I heard right, is when you do it like that, that is showing me only the parent that has the children. Is that correct?
Yeah, you'll see it. I'm going to go to setup real quick. But when you create a new report, the way that it looks to the users, that's you. I don't know if you're an admin or not, but you should be. You're an admin.
I am, but I'm not allowed to do anything. It's more or less like
a visual admin. Sure.
Yeah. I can create list views that I want, and then they can, go create them in the lower environments. But
I love helping people ascend in their permission sets. So this is great. So the more you know, the more they trust you, the more you should be able to do. So when I look at all my report types, I could see accounts with account teams. So if I do that and I create a report and I filter, and I'm just doing a quick run, right? I'm going to show, because I'm going to show all accounts, create it all time. I don't know what activity, but it could be any date, created date, all time, doesn't matter. When I run this report, I got 14 that have account teams. I don't believe that. I might have picked the wrong report type. In theory, in practice, it's supposed to be. Of course, Salesforce will never, when you do something on the fly like I do all the time. I don't have account teams. Probably because we don't have account teams activated, it's nullified it. Let me look at something else.
Because the admin can also control
the report type.
The report type and what it's looking up, right? Because I know that was something I was working with one of the engineers this week. Is I He said there's a lookup on assessments, for example, but I could never get the assessment fields to pull in, and then he had to do some monkeying around with it, and then it worked.
See if this one will do it.
I've seen like the Venn diagram where it's you select your object, then your other object, and then you tell it like the lookup, and we've just never actually done it.
Well, I'll show you it looks like a little Venn diagram. You're right. So I got report types, and this, if you have the ability, you do in your developer org. This is what it's talking about, right? So you have objects, you define the relationship. This is called an inner join. So only the records of A that have a B and a C, that's an inner join. And then you select the fields which you want to display. So when I'm creating a custom report type, and this is later on, right? I want to see accounts, and account. Oh, I gotta give it a name. Accounts with or without opportunity. And is that the name? Account. Oh, I need accounts. Where's my name for it? Accounts. Oh, display. Huh? Sometimes I do with. Storing category. I gotta make it deployed. This is where I make it whether it's, so here's my accounts. I want to know whether it has that or opportunities. And so if it's just with opportunities, which is anytime you create a custom object or a custom lookup between two objects, Salesforce will create a report type that's a with. It'll do it by default. It'll do only the records of A if they have at least one B record. That's called an inner join. Otherwise, I want all of A whether or not they have an opportunity. So now that I have this report type, so every opportunity has an account, but not every account has an opportunity. So it depends on what you want to see in your report. So this is what, I have 14 records. That wasn't the report. I really want to see, okay, new report. I have my new account report now. So I have accounts with or without opportunity is going to show me all the accounts. Because it's standard, I don't have, we just have an opportunity one. These are two standard objects, so it's a little different. So, but let's see if accounts with partners is a good example. I want to see all accounts, all time. And so, but wait, I got no filters. I want to see all accounts all time. Why is this not showing me any records? Because I definitely have accounts. But the reason is my report type is accounts with partners. Can you see that on the screen? Accounts with partners. So it's only showing me that inner join. So if you wanted to see accounts, whether or not they had partners, you'd have to change your report type. Either create one that goes with or without partners. And the reason you need a report, I could create a report with just accounts and pull in partners through the relationship that already exists. But I'm off the rails right now, just so you know. I'm just going to show you the differences. Since I've already got down this rabbit hole, when I see all my accounts, all accounts created all time. So I'm just creating no filter on my accounts, right? And so I'm going to see all the, this previews 20 of them. I'm going to see all of them. I'm going to see all the accounts. There is a filter that you could add, what's called a cross filter, where it says with, and then maybe partners is here. So you could create you could create this little filter on the fly, right? So it's not like you need a report type. The purpose of a report type is also to define the default fields, and you could adjust the field label. See this billing state, province, text only? That's a really long field for a 2-digit thing. I might want to change that label. I can do that in the report. I can only do that in a report type. So we went deep down the report type hole, but that's okay. We're gonna do that later anyway. But does that make sense so far? So when you want to adjust some specific parameters like field length or column or the fields that are default, because you pull this report all the time, but you're constantly removing, 80% of the default fields, you'd rather just pull a new report that has the set of default fields you want on it. You got to create a report type for that. So the report type defines the set of records between a primary object and the related objects along with the default fields. You could set those default fields that show up on the report. So as you're building reports, that's when it becomes important. Questions about that? I went off on a little tangent, Lacey. But did it throw you much or a little?
No, as long as we get back into cross filters, which
Oh yeah,
sure we will.
yeah. We'll do those. We don't spend a lot of time on cross filters, but we have a lot of time. We have more. I think we'll have more time to do it. Cross filters are they're just like instead of a report type, you could use a cross filter to add that with or without feature for related objects. When you have the base object,
you can kind of define that yourself then through a cross filter.
you can a little, but you're still limited on the number of fields that you can add to the report.
Sure. So if I'm doing like this, I start with just the basic accounts, and then I add a cross filter to show me accounts with, I don't know what, account teams or whatever. Is it going to show me the fields related to account team, or is that where I would have to go and build a custom report?
You have to build a custom report type if it didn't show you the field. So again, always start with, when you pull a report, your inventory of fields is going to be in this fields tab here, this little on the side. All the fields that you have available to add to this report with this report type are going to be listed in the field section. And so it does break it down for you into little categories of the fields. So if I create any formula fields, my standard general account fields are there, my address account fields, my contact field, and then any custom fields on just the account. So the fields from the other object may not be available to you. But it doesn't mean you can't use it to filter the list of accounts that you want to see. It's just that you can't add the fields from the related objects without a custom report type. So a cross filter just allows you to use those related objects as filters, not to report values.
So why?
So I couldn't put the name of the partner on this report, but I could filter out, I could do a cross filter for those that have partners. So I can use it as a cross filter is just that. It's going across objects to use related data as existing record to filter existing records that have a relationship with that child object.
So that's why when you do the filter on top, that's filtering on just the primary object of the fields that are specifically tied to accounts, right?
Yeah,
So then to do,
you're using the fields from that object. The data in those fields are being used to filter the results of the report. And the cross filter is just saying I'm filtering that they have a child or not. So if they have a child, you don't know any information about the child without a report type, but you can limit the number in the report with children or without. So in this example, accounts without cases is from all my accounts, I want to see all the accounts that do not have cases. And I'm going to take the partner one out. So I've got 5 accounts that don't have cases. That's showing me the list of accounts based on the cross filter. Because there's no place to store
number of cases on the
whether there are cases on the account other than that cross filter. The cross filter
Yeah.
knows if account does or does not have a child. That's it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think you just helped me
With one of your problems?
Yeah,
Awesome.
that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's keep going.
Now scope are the built-in filters that I was just adjusting when I was building the report. These are scope filters. Sometimes there'll be 2 here, sometimes there'll be 4 here. Usually the 2 basic scope filters are ownership.
And time.
So all accounts, my team's accounts, so that if you have 5 people that report to you and they own accounts, you don't want to see yours, you just want to see theirs. That would be people that report to you based on their user record. That's what that means.
And
Now
that has to be defined by the hierarchy, right? By
not the role hierarchy. It's actually defined on the user record. There's a reports to field on the user record. And so there's a reports to field that creates what's called a little manager group. So you have 5 people that report to you. That's that thing. Now, there's more scope, and that scope could be then the role hierarchies or something, or other public groups that you could use for it. But those are called scope filters. They're different than data filters in that they scope records. So I just want all the records created in the current fiscal quarter, or the last activities the current fiscal quarter. It takes a couple of date fields that are there and allows you to chunk out the records you want that match whatever date criteria. So those are the scope of the records you're going to pull in. So it's like another layer of chunking the data that the records you're going to report on. And finally, you got custom filters, which is based on the data of the record. So the state equals Georgia, the state equals South Dakota, or the owners are this person. Whatever the data is that's stored on the records themselves, you can use that to filter out and chunk data, just like we did in list views. Mm-hmm. And really the only difference, there's a lot more functionality in reports than list views, but list views are fundamentally just one object that you're filtering on, and you're not doing anything else. Whereas in reports, you can summarize some fields as you break it up and summarize to get a better, clear picture of what's happening in between the records. You could also group records differently than your data would normally allow. So you have some customization ability in there. That make sense? Mm-hmm. All good so far? Okay. So a tabular report, simplest of all the reports. All reports start out as tabular. It's just columns and rows. You pick the columns. Each field is a column. And then you cannot do subtotals because there's no subgroupings. It's just grand totals or all that. If you're going to count anything, you can't create charts because charts, graphs need subtotals to fill in their blanks. Charts and graphs need to, and you only build charts on reports.
So what defines is this defined at the report type, like based on the objects I'm pulling in, or?
No, the format of the report is based on how you build the report.
Oh, okay.
So everything starts out as a tabular report. We'll do it. We'll do it right now. We'll just create one first, and we're gonna create a new report. So I'm gonna close this one out, even though it's the same report we just built. We're gonna create a new report just on accounts, and we'll click Start Report. I don't want unsigned. So just a real quick preview, right? So fundamentally, this is you're building a report, and this is the only one you have to select when you're changing formats is to a join report. We're building a report. That's the report default report name. This is the report type we pulled in. That's what's there. Undo, redo, add charts, save and run, save, properties, close, run, all that good stuff. On the next row in the body, you've got 3 basic components. One, the fields, all the fields, which you can filter by type. I want to see all the number fields, the data fields, the checkboxes, dates, or pick list fields, because those I want to pick from them, and you can add those fields directly to the list of columns by clicking and dragging, or double clicking, and it'll add it to the top, and you can then move it down. So you can manipulate your fields. You can also, if you know the fields, in the outline section, you can literally just start adding columns to whatever field's not already selected. You've done this before, right? In this part?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can add all that stuff there. The window pane or the preview pane will either, I recommend either leaving the update preview automatically on or off. It really just depends on how you want to get used to it. At some point in time, you'll figure out, oh, if I leave the preview on, every time I remove a field, it's got to before I can do anything else, it's got to redo the preview. So if you know you're doing a lot of like things before you care about the data, turn it off. If you don't,
okay, that makes
right?
sense, because I have ran into where I don't remember the type of report, but there's like 20 fields. And I'm like, I do not care about any of them, but it spins out.
It spins out every one, right? So you turn off that.
Okay, because usually I recommend people like, that's your very first thing you want to do. Set it and forget it. But okay, that makes sense.
But it just really depends. So if you're setting up the columns for the first time, and I know my data and I know the fields, I turn the preview off because I want to move the columns around. And then if I'm if I'm tweaking it, now I'm a lot of report building is like, are you making it visually appealable to another human being? That's half the battle. Because remember, you saw the movie The Matrix, right? Or all the Matrixes movies? Any of them?
No.
You haven't seen any of the Matrix movies? All right, so Google this. There's a little green screen in The Matrix that he's looking at a computer monitor, and it's this drippy green. Have you ever seen that screenshot?
No.
So this is what most reports look like. Let's see if it pulls up something unoffensive. So it's this, right? So
Yeah.
digital rain, they call it, right? And that dude's standing there looking at this digital rain going, he's saying, this is happening, that's happening, this is happening. What about this? Go over there. Take a... Like, what? But all your reports look like that to most of your users. So the more visually appealing, the more you get closer to a picture, the more it communicates. All right, so now I'm going to go to my scope filters, and I'm going to change the ownership scope, and I'm going to change the created date scope, just so it shows I'm not filtering the records on anything but that. And then I want to see the columns. Do I need last activity? Yep. I need last activity somewhere else. I want to see account owner. These are the fields I'm picking. This is the exercise you're doing, right? If I removed one, I can add it back. Now, I always recommend looking at the data without any data filters on it. Billing state. Website. Especially if you're new to reports or you're building a report with somebody, to give them the experience that the data really exists. I like to make sure they can see the data that's in there. And then from the data, they go, okay, this is an easy report because there's only 14 accounts. I'm sure you have more of them. Now you could see, oh, last activity. I don't need to do anything with last activity because there's no activity, right? So I could just, from here, I can even remove the column. But you could just see what's there before you filter on it. You can see a couple of them don't have a type, a couple of them don't have an industry. This is what I call the first trigger a report should provide is fill in the blanks. Like if I show this report to somebody and this is their accounts, I go, you know what to do next? And they'll go, nope. I'm like, you're fired. Like, what do you not see that I don't see that you ought to see? Well, I know United Oil and Gas in the UK. Well, does anybody else know that? This is your communication tool. This is the whole purpose of a CRM. It's a communication tool. I'm trying to communicate what we already know so you don't have to interrupt anybody to ask. So this is the first thing. Blank, filling in the blanks. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to save this report. And because I haven't saved it report before, I can't save as. I just got to save it. So I'm going to give it a name. And then I'm going to add it to a folder. I'm going to add it to that GenWad folder that I created. And now everybody with access to that folder has access to that report.
Oh, okay. So this is a tabular, just like plain Jane. There's no groupings.
Plain Jane, just a spreadsheet is really what it is. It's just a spreadsheet.
That's right. Because I know from here I wouldn't be able to do much. Like for a dashboard, I could create a chart or a table, but that's it.
Yeah, because that's all it is. It's a table. But if I want to see everybody by state, I literally can group those rows, and we just created a summary report.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, once you summarize, you can see the detail rows or not. You could turn on and off the subtotals or not. It's still the row counts are sometimes on there by default. I don't know why. But it all depends. Like now you're playing with the visual representations as well. But now I can add a chart because I've subtotaled it, and I could do it in a bar chart or in my little chart properties. I'm moving ahead just so you can see. By the way, there are no pies in Salesforce, only donuts.
That's right.
Just for the test, in case you take it. Right? I don't know. This would not make good funnel, but you could. Right? So, but these are the display the charts, and you could create some of the attributes, and when you the more, I'm going to say this, like, did you ever watch the show The Bear on Hulu? I'm in season 3 of The Bear now. Well, or you ever watch a cooking show? One of the Next Level Chef is, I've heard it the most. Edit. Like these cooks that are in competitions, they want to make this fancy dish, and they go, I got 3 minutes left and 38 steps. How many of those steps can I not do to be finished so I can actually get ready, right? So when you're playing with these things, then you know the charts and chart properties uh, will become over time make somewhat more sense. Um, um, let's see, sort report charts. I don't know if it matters. You can give it a title, a couple little things there, and it's not sorting. Why are you not sorting? And all right, go from there. Oh yeah, because it's got a blank. It's sorting them alphabetically because it's done by state, not by number. So it's doing it that way. Anyway, so you can toggle the chart. You can add or remove a chart, but those are your chart settings. So we just skipped a little head too, which is what happens. So that's what it does. You can do up to 3 row sorts or 3 groupings, the 3 levels. You can't do 4. You can only do 3. And if you do a matrix, it's 2 by 2. And you'll know because it won't let you do 3. It won't let you turn into a matrix. It won't let you do columns if you have 3 subtotals. So we're going to do a summary report now in the next exercise. This was going to be on opportunities. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to remove my groupings. I'm just going to make it a detail column. And I can't remember if I can move it or not. I think I can. Nope. I got to move it back and edit. A little nerdy. And that I want my account. There we go. I want that. And I'm going to hit save. One thing I will show you here is that next to the save, you can see save as or properties. So sometimes if the name or the unique name get a little, or the folder, you want to change any of those things or add the description, you can just go straight to the properties and edit and update those. You'll see that again later on, but why not look at it now too? All right, I'm done with that. So I'm going to close the report. And we're going to create a new report. This one's for opportunities now. Are you doing these now? We talk or not?
Yeah, I am for sure.
Okay, that's cool. I can't see it doing it. It looks like it kind of the way it looks. You kind of look like you're just lounging. Like I'm okay if you lounge. I just don't want to. I just want no. All right, so I want to do all time.
Yeah, I have you on my laptop, and then I'm.
Oh, that's awesome. That's okay. So this apply that. I want any. Yeah, we're doing all the opportunities. So I'm gonna go back to the outline. I don't need the owner role. I do need the owner. I don't need the account name. I only need the name, the opportunity owner, close date, stage, and amount. I don't need fiscal period. Some of these fields are already, like these are standard fields in the standard report type. So a lot of times I create a custom report type just to get rid of some of this dumb stuff. Oh wait, why is this taking so long? I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I left it on. Update owner. Lost my name. When I closed those tabs with the preview on, ones that I clicked weren't the ones that got clicked.
Yep. I have ran into that too, so thank you for that little trick of shutting the preview off. That definitely expedited, and this would be an example. Like, I don't want rating and type, and like there's a bunch of fields that I just don't want on opportunities.
And they're mostly, I got to tell you, they're mostly the dumbest fields in Salesforce. Now I can refresh, take a look at like expected revenue, probability, days. Days is okay, but some of these are just dumb. And I go through in my sales ops class that I teach personally. I just explain why these numbers are dumb. Executives don't understand. They're not good indicators of anything smart. So, I do want to take my amount field and make sure that it's got a summary on it. So I added the account name in the group. So now I've grouped by the account. And I'm going to add a little chart just for funsies. And it's going to be a donut because that's all we have at donuts. We don't need the detail rows. I'm hardwired to my internet right now too, and I'm on AT&T fiber, and it just, I don't know why it does this with a newer router. Okay, so I'm going to chart. I'm going to go donut, and I want the show the values. I want the sum of the amount name. I'm going to hit save and run. And I'm going to call this all opportunities by account. Select my folder.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So now I could see. Now, this is not a good report just yet. Do you know why? Well, this is not a good report yet.
I don't know.
Well, given the scenario, I'm going back to the scenario to reflect. So the executives are concerned, which is okay, that we may be too reliant on one or two accounts for most of our revenues, but they really aren't sure. How can we report on all the opportunities, but group them by account with the total opportunity value by account? Well, that's what we just created. But we didn't, there's more to the story we can tell. And I'm pointing it out now so you can ask you if you know why yet. And this is just your knowledge of how sales works. That's why I'm bringing it up for sales ops kind of thing.
Well, this is good you're going into sales ops because I think this is where my role is headed. So
Okay.
I just failed my first test.
No, it's fine. No. Well, there are two fundamental types of opportunities, open and closed, right? Open is we're working on it. We haven't realized any decisions or revenue yet. Salespeople will screw up those like nobody's business. And then there's closed. And there's two flavors of closed. Closed, we won it. Closed, we didn't. This report we just created, based on these filters, just shows the sum total of all the conversations about money that we have. Right? And so I'm going to sort this by sum of the amount, and then I'm going to sort it the other way. So, and then I'll save it. Oops. So this tells a picture, but it is not the picture that'll help somebody make a decision about, are we heavily reliant on one client or not, really. And even though United Oil and Gas Corp is 59% of our revenue, we don't know if that's future potential revenue, past revenue we've sold, or past revenue we've not sold. It's just one big number of revenue. That make sense? So
Yep.
more investigations required. We didn't really answer the question they had yet. But that's okay. We're not there yet. We'll get to that one. So I'm just pointing that out to you, like, again, we're not teaching you the best practices to answer the question in the scenario, but that didn't answer the question in the scenario. Because even closed one, the amount of money we've realized doesn't tell the story of what we're relying on either. Because even if we're selling them this amount of money, we might have an opportunity coming up with Farmers Co-op of Florida that might be worth $10 million. We just don't know yet, right? We don't know what the truth is in the world, and the whole purpose of the Salesforce is to report back all the different realities that we're trying to evaluate to make a decision. Anyway, does that help or not help? Kind of threw you in a little conceptual spin. I don't want to spin you up too much. But I'm just saying, if we look at the filters say we looked at all opportunities, all statuses, all time. So we don't have a clear picture yet. This is a pretty fuzzy picture. This is pretty fuzzy math so far, given the question we were asked. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So that just leads us to our next spot, which is it's 11:30 your time.
Mm-hmm.
It's about time to take a little break. And we'll come back, and then we'll come back. We'll be in the other side of lunchtime. So I don't know when you want to, and we can take a break at the top of the hour. I don't know when you want to eat. I probably
I can
won't
go
eat.
whenever you think makes sense to do I don't know what you had in mind for like a lunch break. If you want to do longer than 15, I'm fine. If you just want to do quick
What?
15.
Yeah, I did not a lot. I'm not gonna eat lunch anyway. I already ate my breakfast, and I eat basically twice a day, if I eat, or once. Um, we're gonna go into matrix reports now, which is similar to a pivot table. It calculates now across the columns as well as subtotaling the rows. It subtotals uh, the column data, and it makes for pretty components inside of dashboards. You can still have charts on them, but when you add these to a dashboard, some of the components are built for matrix better than others. So our scenario is we're now going to take this report to the next level. Like, wait a minute, we want to see the value of opportunities expected to close in each of the coming months broken out by salesperson. And so when they tried grouping the rows by close month and then opportunity owner, it's not quite what they're looking for. So when you group this kind of information, and this is an interesting thing about why matrix reports exist, I think. In the Western hemisphere or Western societies, we read left to right. And when we're talking about things projected into time, most people, the high 90% of people, see time from left to right. So when you try to group vertically time, that throws people's perception off. Let me just show you this. So if we do another report, I'll just demo this and then we'll take a break. Unless you want to keep. Let's tell me. How about? Or you tell me when you want to take a break because I'm good. We'll do an opportunity report. So I'm gonna first make it all opportunity. Actually, I'm gonna cheat for a second. Not cheating, but this is my opportunities report with the accounts. You know all those fields we had to remove that are a pain in the butt? I'm just going to save it as first. I'm just going to save this one as. I'm going to fix this one because it's got most of the fields we want. Now, I just demonstrated brilliant workflow, and I don't know if you noticed it or not, Lacey. What's the name of my report that I just saved? I'll give you a second. Can you read it? When I copied it, what did it name it?
The copy of.
It named it copy of. This is the greatest little secret that I've learned about Salesforce. Whenever you clone something or save as, if it gives you the name of copy of, I never change the name until the end.
Okay.
Because it's a big red flag that tells me work in progress.
Sure.
If I change the name now and then get interrupted, I'm not going to know it's undone. So sometimes I'll just do a global search for copy of to see what did I copy that I not finished, because I have a lot of unfinished loops in my world. So it's just one of those little things that I've learned. When you copy something, just leave the name, and that signals that it's a work in progress. And if it is done, it's still a work in progress because you haven't changed the name yet. The final step is to change the name to what makes sense. All right, so we want to group the rows by, I'm going to make a detail column. Since I don't have groupings, I want to group by, now I got to refresh. I'm going to group by opportunity owner. Now that I can group by opportunity owner, I can group by columns. So I'm going to choose close date. And then I'm going to refresh it. Now mine, I just screwed mine up. Not totally. I thought I updated my opportunity dates. Maybe I didn't. Once you create a matrix, you really don't need the details anymore. So when you look at my preview even, this is great. There's only one owner. And the close date now, I could tell how much each opportunity is worth that's closing on a particular day each month. Well, that's too much information, right? If I got opportunities closing I've got tons of people that have one for every day, it's too much. So under the close date, at the close date, we can group the date by week, month, quarter, year, fiscal quarter. You can have all these other groupings of the close dates. I'm just going to do it by calendar month. And that should clean up what I can see. So it chunks the information together better. So I can now see better what my revenue stream should be. So we've got, and then my amounts. Have mine summarized? Yep. And that's already summarized. So we're summarizing. Now there's a stack summary or not stack summary. We'll play with that in the other one in a minute. It just depends on what you like. Again, you're playing now. So I'm just going to save and run it. I'm not going to rename it yet because I'm still testing it. This is the idea of what I think they're looking for. They want to see who owns an opportunity and how much it's worth each month moving out. Now this would be great if this was August. But I got a big majority of my revenue is in the past, which means those close dates have to be updated or those opportunities have to be closed as lost because it's not true right now. It can't be true. So I'm saying this again to you because when I'm the person in an organization that's live data managing in sales, that's talking to salespeople, I just look at them like that doesn't exist because they have in their mind, they don't care what the data says. They know what exists in their head, which means you have a stressed out salesperson who hasn't updated their data. I don't interact with them until they update their data. I don't talk to them about anything. When I'm a sales manager, I don't talk to them. Like, I can't talk to you. Your data's not up to date. Because I'm talking through the eyes of Salesforce and you got a time machine. Somehow or another, you can go back in time and make a decision nobody else can. So go clean up your data. But this wouldn't go longer than a week for me anyway, because if I'm managing on a weekly cadence. But anyway, so that's what they wanted. That's what we got. We're going to go clean up the data after our break.
Okay.
Cool. But now this is kind of where we want it to be, but we can save it. And now we can go back and clean up those opportunities that are in the past, give them some other dates, and then this will look more realistic. Because I tell you, the one thing that I'm always sensitive to is especially when the data is new, I want to improve faith in the data, not diminish faith in the system. So I always have to warn people, this data's not up to date, we've been migrating. That's why the first level of reports should really be auditing the data transfer and updating from anything else. So I'm telling you this because you're in the midst of it.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a chance to talk to leaders, I got to go, here's what you have to add to your change management communications. We're not measuring you the same way we measured you before the transition because we don't have good data yet and you're not good at looking. Like, you need time to adjust the data and adjust the way we are now looking at the data. But I can't tell you, a high percentage of people carry forward that pressure of how they were measured in the old system to the new system, which creates a disruption in the force. The other thing that it does, if sales leaders specifically, I have 2 hashtags, Lacey. Hashtag stop using spreadsheets. Hashtag fire all your sales managers. Because what sales managers do that nobody talks about, that I've seen happen over and over and over again, hundreds of situations, hundreds of managers that done it, and thousands of salespeople. The sales manager goes, just send me the spreadsheet we always use. And they dishonor all of your investment in the new system. And then their bosses go, just hit the numbers. And they disown the entire investment. So leadership has to communicate. Anybody's manager, if anybody's manager is asking them to do spreadsheet reporting, please let us know. We will give you a $5,000 bonus and fire that manager. So if you're not a well-loved manager, you're out. Like, you can't really do that in HR world now, but that's how I want it to happen. Because those people ruin everything. They really, if you're spending millions of dollars, leadership ought to just have the guts to say, all right, anybody that's reported, I'd give it the 2-strike rule. First strike, we warned you. Second strike, it happened, you're out. Like, you probably mishired him anyway as a sales manager. You don't have to fire him, just demote him back to sales. Because most of them aren't doing a good job managing sales anyway. A higher percent, I've trained thousands of sales managers and 1,000 sales managers how to be better sales managers. And most of them don't even like being a sales manager. They just wanted the prestige, the money, the whatever, but they'd rather make more money in sales. Like, if they have a commission base, they ought to be that way. So that's my philosophies. But you get my point, right? In this transition, what to look for, some of the things you may or may not be able to say. But if you want me to create a video out on YouTube that will say it for you, I'm happy to do that. So those are the things I say. So, all right, you want to do 10, 15, 5? How much time do you want to take for a break? It's up to you.
Is this like our lunch break? Quote
No,
unquote?
you want to take, are you ready to take lunch? Do you want to take it now or do you want to take it later? I'm okay if you want to take it now.
I guess like how long do you envision this going till the full length?
I'm here till 4,
Okay.
regardless. But I want to get
Um,
through it. I don't want to waste time, but I want to give you, listen, how much time do you want for lunch? To catch up on emails, anything else you want to do, eat lunch, take care of yourself, take a break, free your mind, whatever you want to do. How much time do you want to need?
I mean, is 30 unrealistic or?
No, there's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's
We
do
don't
30
have to
minutes.
do it now. We can. You know
Yeah.
the curriculum
The
better. So maybe you think.
the last thing we did. Oh, yeah. So the next little thing is, this is also one of the realistic things we teach. As soon as you make one cool report, before they even know how they're going to use it, they're going to ask for, hey, can we do this? They're going to have me do that. So as a report builder, I'm warning you, be slow on your report delivery and be slower on your, ooh, what about like that report? Like, yeah, well, let's see how you use this one first. But again, you have to wield that with your job paycheck in mind. I can say whatever I want. It doesn't affect my job. So they like this report and they want a simple enhancement. They like the 2x2, but they also want you to have the calendar quarter, then month included in the report. And that's really simple. So we can go back and do this in our report that we just did. We haven't copied it. We haven't made the full name yet because you know it's coming. And this is just to highlight 2 things. One, adding the second column that you're grouping by. So I'm going to add another column. And this one's going to be, you'll notice you've got 3 close dates in the opportunity object in Salesforce. It's the same close date, but they give you the opportunity to use it twice. And then they actually added one that did the thing we did with the last one, which is group the date by month. So you have, when you see close date more than once, see, we're already grouped by close date, and we set that grouping to monthly. If I set it to quarter, that's great, but I'm losing the months. So I can add the second close date, either close date 2 by month, or they just add the close month, and it'll stick that quarter and each subsequent month in there for you. So that's all we're really showing you in this next exercise. And that's going to be saved. So now I'm going to save it, but I'm going to save, well, first of all, I got to save this one as open opportunities by and then the first one that I saved, the copy of one that I had, this one I'm editing and changing the properties to open opportunities by month. So sometimes you'll so there we created 3 reports. Tabular. 3 reports, 4 reports. So it just shows us what we can do with these reports.
I mean, but did we apply a filter for open? Or are we just pretending we did?
Nope, I might have forgot. Definitely possible that I forgot for sure. Because if I could fix it, I don't. Let's see. So yeah, so status is good catch. Oh yeah, because remember I changed everything to 12.1. That's why. That makes sense. We're gonna go back and change some of those out a little bit. Open opportunities by month. So that my real brain was making sure that you could see the breakout because I'd already changed it to 1 month, so it didn't. Oops, so that one quarter month. And really, that ought to be our. If we really wanted to know if we're relying too heavy on one account or not, we go back to our account, one by accounts, and make it open to all opportunities by account. Because who cares about past money? That's already spent. I mean, if you're only focused on getting money from one account, then yeah, for sure you're not. This is what I would do: is make that happen and then see what it looks like. So that one tells me what we're relying on, how much we're relying on them for moving forward. And that is a little, it's not too far out of balance. But they are
So this one, the all
63%.
opportunities by account, you're still only looking at open.
I'm looking at open just to make it smart. I mean, like, who really cares what we closed? That money's spent. What we're working on now tells where we're moving to in the future.
Okay.
Right. But now it raised our percentage to 63 from 50, whatever it was before. So we still are too heavy on United Oil and Gas, but it doesn't mean we can't now adjust our efforts appropriately. All right. So we already looked at report scope filters. Just going to touch what we talked about before. Make sure you don't have any questions. These are the standard filters that are built into every report before you add data filters. And you can set. We're basically filtering the chunk of data you want to look at. So you can't remove them, but you can set them to all. We did it already because we knew what we were doing. But if you ever want to check it, you just check the filters, and it's right there. The scope of the ones will be there, and then data filters will show up with or without a little lock on them. Depends on how you set that filter for your users to change. Even if they only have view access, you can still, they might be able to change some of these scope filters. But then you can also search by role. So if you just want to see, if there's just the North American sales, you could set the scope of who owns it and what channel, those other things. You can just keep narrowing your focus down and further and further. But that's scope filters. We did the date groupings already. So Salesforce will automatically let you take date fields if you're grouping them either in a column or a row and group them into whatever chunk of time you want. Remember, it's always real time, so the records will move in and out of that time scope. And there are special date filters that you can use called relative filters. And we'll do some in a minute, but like I've seen this happen in orgs over and over again. Report of records for August of 2025, and they put a hard coded date of August 2025 in there. The problem with that is it's not a problem if you're looking at past dates that don't change. That's okay because you're trying to snapshot to look at what happened at a particular date and time. But for things like close date, close dates are moving and changing all the time. Customers are changing their mind. Deals get stalled. They get moved. Well, those August close dates could be different. If it's an open opportunity in an August close date, that report should be 0 because that's in the past. So but I've seen people do hard-coded dates for dates that should be last 30 days. Show me the last 90 days of X. Because past 90 days, who cares what happened? Like past 90 days is giving me it depends on what you're doing, right? But you can use these relative date filters without having to hard code dates in the report, which is a useful way to do it. We haven't touched the field filters yet, but that would be the next thing we practice. That is to say, I want to see everybody in California that has these generators with this service contract with this many days left of the contract. Like that's a very targeted list. So that's what you use these for, is for targeting. So marketing does targeting, sales does targeting, service can do targeting. Maintenance can do like all the things that you might want to group things together. These data filters allow you to do that. The most important part of this is the part that takes practice, Lacey, is the filter logic. And you probably run into that, right? I see your face, right? Yeah, you run into that, right? It's everything with this and with this or that. So you got to do algebra. So I know a lot of people when I was growing up said, when am I ever going to use algebra? So now that you're retiring, Gen Xers, you could have used it in Salesforce for the last 20 years. It's what I teach them. But that's where the filter logic comes in. You're basically creating an algebra equation so that you get all the right records that you want to see as a result. So then you can group, sort, and calculate whatever you need to calculate for that result.
Yeah, I've tried using it and I can't remember the errors I've gotten, but basically I'm not doing it right. I think it's because I was missing parentheses.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because it's an algebra, and by the way, in mathy circles, like the order in which you put the parentheses and the things you put inside or outside the parentheses and how that works all matters, turns out.
Mm-hmm.
This is where this is where getting help from people who understand that math functionality or what's called the order of execution functionality for all that stuff. I wouldn't necessarily trust all YouTube videos. I would trust some of them. But some people have lost their jobs because they didn't calculate their filtered logic right. Not anybody that didn't work for an a-hole, but they still but sometimes it's critical. So you got to be this is something to be careful about because it could be critical depending on who you're doing the report for, what the report's going to, what it means for that report, that kind of thing. So understanding, so most people doing most reports doesn't really matter. But when you start getting into finance and reporting and SEC, when it goes up the chain of costing somebody money who's got enough money to make a thing out of it, that's when you get in trouble. So
that's where my role is shifting, and that's what scares me.
Toward that?
I'll be creating reports for our board.
Yeah.
And our executive team to be making decisions. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I need to go through some, like I said, official instructor-led training. So led me to you.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret that I tell all my participants in classes for all the companies I've trained for and trained to. When you connect me on LinkedIn, if you run into trouble, you get free Salesforce support. Now, you know, it's not my SLA is not super fast. My paid customers get a faster SLA, but I like doing it because for a portion of my time, I haven't done it in a while, but I do like doing it because it provides me the questions inform me about what videos to create for social or create for or topics to bring up in class. So and I like it helps me also because I do mostly training, not a lot of real org work. Like I don't get to do real work all the time, so I'm always working in the same sandbox. So I like it because it helps me sharpen my saw about my skills because I don't work I don't work your job all the time. I don't have to encounter all the things, you know what I mean, that you encounter because Salesforce is exactly the same out of the box. But a week later, it's a different animal altogether. So I like to be able to get experience and see things because my boxes never change a lot, right? My Salesforce is always easy and it gets easier and I like challenges and I like to learn. So I like all those things. So I'm telling you right now, feel free to reach out. If I don't know, sometimes I'll say, well, okay, let's bring this problem to. Sometimes I'll huddle up a group of students. So I was doing this thing called the ACE Academy for a while. I shut it down for a little bit when the economy got weirder, and I may reopen it. But in my live labs, it becomes a great teaching tool too. If somebody's in a really complex situation and they can't figure it out, and I learned this at one of my very first Salesforce events called a Dreamin' event. Now, they don't have any in South Dakota, but you're more than welcome to create one. It's just a community-driven event, usually a day or two, where Salesforce people huddle to get together, right? And I volunteered, my first one I volunteered, and there was like a hackathon room going on. And people would literally come to that room and say, I'm trying to do this. I can't figure it out. Can anybody help me? And sure enough, people would circle around and solve the problem for them, which was really cool because like she had spent weeks trying to solve this problem, authenticating Facebook, something that's in 2018. And 3.5 hours later, she left with a solved problem.
Yeah.
But it took weeks to get there. But like, that's a beautiful thing that this community does is if you find groups that'll get together is you could huddle around and show what you can legally. I don't want you to violate any HIPAA, PIA, all that stuff, right? So get a sandbox if you need to. If you don't know how to do that, I'll show you how to do it. But like, so you can solve the problem with help. That's the truth about every Salesforce problem. That's why I think Salesforce job descriptions are so wrong. They ought to say not how many certifications do you have, but how many people do you know that are smart in Salesforce that you work with on a regular basis that help you solve your problems? Because most solutions are cut and paste from the internet anyway. So it's the community that will help you solve your most complex problems. So when you get to that point. Anyway, let's do one more report and then we'll break for lunch. How's that? Because it's about that time for you. All right, so let's do this one. We'll create a report. We're going to do the all opportunities by account report. We're going to, let's see if, I need to check to see if all opportunities. So again, this says at the end, save as, but I have learned through my own bad habits of saving as I go to do a save as first. If you know you're going to change a report, then step one is always save as, not step 7. And again, leave it copy of so you know it's a work in progress. So we're just going to add a data filter like I've been talking about. And we're going to add the billing state of California. And I'll show you how to do a couple of fun things you need to know about this. So I'm going to take, I want to say, okay, this is great, but what about California? So I want to say billing state. Now, um, so these filters are operated by Boolean filters. That is to say, equal, not equal, less than, greater than, contains, does not contain, starts with. All of those are useful to help you figure out how to get the records you want. Now, what I would say is if I'm trying to do California and I'm lazy, just so you know, I'm lazy. I try not to I tell you to do 10,000 clicks. I've already done 100,000 clicks. So now I'm into click conservation. So if I'm doing California and I know all 50 states, how many other states begin with CA? I don't think it. If I'm in America, none, just one, right? I think California's the only state that begins with CA, correct?
Mhm.
California, Connecticut. No, I don't know if I spell them wrong, right? So if I did that, that's cool. Now, if I want to say uh, equals, then here's where human beings get all jacked up. Human beings, uh, first of all, human beings put in bad data all the time. But here's California, so it equals California. That's great. So I don't have CA, do I? Nope. Now, I don't know if Baja California is the same as California and Baja California Sur. I don't know if that's what they're talking about. But if I want to add them, because it's a pick list value, I can just select the values that I want. Pick list values are just predefined text. And when you filter on them, you can select the actual active values. If it was a text value, then it'd be a little different. So I thought there was a billing field called text. Yeah, billing state text only. So that's different, right? That's giving me it's giving me freedom. So I might put in something like CA or so the comma inside some fields acts as an or for that field. So that's a way to have an or. That's sort of a filter logic. But I said equals, so I might even want to put Cali or again, this is where you would look at your data first, sort by that column and see what the different variables are. The way Excel does it is when you do a data filter, it does that for you. It summarizes by all the unique values, and you could just pick the ones you want, right? So it does it by text, but Salesforce is not Excel advanced in that way. So I'm just doing it because equals is fine. If I'd put contain CA, then all those other fields with CA in it would show up as well because contains is too broad. So the rule on filters is less is more is less. The less filters you have, the more results. The more filters you have, the less results. So that's just what it's going to be. So this one is, let me just save and run it because I'm, again, just a work in progress. Turns out I got one record. And I could look at it. There it is. That's okay. We only have a data set of 14 open opportunities anyway. So this is what they asked for. I feel confident that this is the right result. So I'm going to go ahead and change the name through the properties to all opportunities. It's really all open opportunities. Again, I'll say that names matter. Descriptions help. When I'm training the admin class, I will often say we look at descriptions and remind ourselves that in real life, we add the descriptions, but in training, we remind ourselves to add them in real life.
Yeah, what I've
They
done
take a little time.
lately is for the description, I'll say like this report is filtered on X. Um,
Well, I'll tell you what I do, or sometimes what I've said I've done is this report. You don't have a lot of them, right? But sometimes I'll go the name. I'll try to give the description of what's in there, right? All
Mm-hmm.
open opportunities in California. Report requested by Bob Smith on X date.
Hmm.
If I want to tie it to which knucklehead made me do a knucklehead report, if I still got to do a knuckleheads report, I make sure knucklehead everybody sees it wasn't me. It was based on the request because that's just. And I'll do that in the description. That's inside that nobody sees but other admins because that's really important to see that. But on reports, sometimes I'll definitely. And it's not. It isn't obviously that I'm throwing anybody under the bus, but um, I try to throw bus shine wherever I can. If I feel it's not if I look not everybody, but I don't have a job. I train people, so you know what I mean. Like I don't know what it's like to keep a job, but to do those kind of things. So depends on who's doing it. But again, I like the last report. I typically add in my folders the last report. Last I don't think recent will keep it though. I think recent will. Yeah, recent won't save that, but all of your custom folders that you create should keep the fields. Uh, see if it does it in there. Um, this because this is a weird thing.
I
Sometimes
don't
it
think it
keeps them.
does because I feel like when I was just using this the other day to clean up some old reports, and when I navigated away, it didn't keep the fields.
Yeah,
But I don't know if
I
that's
don't.
because I'm technically, I mean, I am an admin, but not.
I can't remember if it's a thing or if it's a thing that has some. Yeah, it doesn't keep them. It bums me out. This is the dumbest thing. It used to. I've had. I have the memory that it used to, but it doesn't always to. So all right, it's all good. And that's. But that you understand. But then we'll go. Um, oh yeah, so we have a bunch. We don't. So now we're just saying, like, hey, how do we use lists? We just showed you before. We'll just do this kind of complete out. We look at all our accounts. Now, a couple things. I don't know if you have record types in your org, but
Mhm.
if um, if you do have record types, then I'm just going to put everybody in California that doesn't have a state. Why can't I do it? Why can't I do it in this org? Shipping.
Does it have to be filtered on the record type?
If there is record type, then they have to be filtered by record. Let's see if there is one. I don't know if there is or not. Sometimes there is. No, there's no record type. I don't know why that is not, but let's just. I'm going to add the shipping. Select fields of display. I'm going to just see what the what is on this. You're limited to 15 fields usually. So let's see. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do. Why can't I? What's. Maybe. Oh, you know what? Maybe. Let me just test this real quick. User interface. Might have to turn on inline editing and enhanced. Nope, it's in there. So enable inline editing and enable enhanced lists. Usually has to be done. Hmm. Don't know why. In theory, account tab, all accounts. Oh, maybe because I'm not the
Oh,
owner.
because we have to do shipping state.
Yeah, they want us to update the shipping state, but it might. Hold on, I might not be the owner of the account, which is shouldn't matter as the admin, but might for the list. So I'm gonna do a little fun thing. Let's just, if you haven't done this before, come on.
Oh, never mind.
I'm gonna do this at lunch. Oh wait, I gotta save. Did I save that already? All right. All right, we're way past 1 o'clock, but all right.
You want to try changing the owner?
Yeah.
Is that what you're gonna do?
Yep. So I'm gonna do a mass transfer of records. I'm gonna transfer the accounts. It doesn't matter. Let's see if I'm in there. I should be. Should have created a Dominic Kruba. All right. I'm going to transfer all the open opportunities. I never transfer closed cases or opportunities unless I'm forced to. I always put up a little fight on it. Let me select them all. So this is just a way to transfer a big group of records and their subordinate records sometimes. So now, yay. Now I'm going to see. Now I got to load those changes. It might be what did it. I don't know. Let's use, things change all the time. Don't know why. Nope, it's still. So it's not, for whatever reason, I don't know why it's not editing. But you get the idea. What we could change something, but we just can't change that. Okay.
But yeah, the idea is to be able to select a bunch of records and change them all at once.
Exactly. We'll come back and do this now that we have that, and I'll play with it while at lunch anyway. So it's 30 minutes. Just let me know, and if you come back, and I'll be here. If you need more time, something happens, whatever, it's fine.
30
because
great.
when we finish all 4 report types, we're going to go through some of the other features and functionalities, which I've already talked about some of them already. Because with one person, I tend to move a little more fluid, unless you tell me to stop, and But then we're going to translate all the dashboards, and the most challenging part of dashboards is making sure you have the right reports in the right folders with the right access to those folders for the people who are going to be using the dashboard, which can be tricky sometimes, but should be okay. I mean, depending on your situation, it should be fine. That's it. And I'll see you back in 30 minutes.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Lacey.